Hey everyone, welcome back. So in this video, we are going to dive into one of the most essential topics in Python, that is file handling. So from a test automation perspective, you will be reading a config file, writing to logs, or working with data sets, or having or handling multiple different files. So this is the foundation to how you can handle files in Python. All right. We'll explore how to open a file using open, read, readline, readlines. We'll also write to file, use the with statement for safer file management, and demystify the file modes like read, write, append, and binary. Let's jump right in. Okay. So let's create a new file. We'll say Python file. We'll name it as file handling, file handling.py. So the first one that we want to do here is to create a text file. We'll have a text file created and we'll try to read it. So anywhere in my directory, I'm creating, say inside this or here, PyCell, we are using this one, right? Python basics is my folder. So here I'm creating a new and I'll say a text file. I'll rename it as my underscore file one or just say my underscore file. In this file, I'm going to write some text. I'll say line 1. Here is the first line. I'll say line 2. I'll say line 3. Line 3. And so on. We go. Alright. So say this is my demo file that I have created for now. We'll save this and we'll close this. Yeah, I want to save this. We'll copy this path. But for now, I can directly use it from here itself because my file is listed here, right? So what are we going to do? We are going to first open the file, right? We are going to open the file. How do you open a file? So opening a file is simple. You will have a variable, say file is equals to, just write open, the path of the file. We'll write the path of the file slash my underscore file dot txt. And in what mode we want to open it, we'll say I just want to read it. So what R will do is it will open a file in read only mode and it won't make any changes there, right? So let's execute this. What happens? So it says invalid escape sequence slash s. Okay. This is because in Python, either you can use this way. You'll have to give double slash, right? And if you run this, it would run without any error. Or you'll have to give front slash instead of backslashes. You have to give front slash, right? So Python is expecting a front slash instead of backslash. So let's run both of these. Will I get some error or no? See, so there's no error. So either you can have double backslash or you have to give a front slash. All right. The default way how you copy paste the Windows path won't work. All right. Moving on. So we have opened the file. Now what we want to do, we want to read this file. All right. So we want to read the file. Read the file content. All right. How do you do it? So let's comment these two. You can directly write here because since my file.txt is in the same folder, right? So if I don't pass this file also, if I don't pass this path, I'll still be able to open it. So let's see this. So I will say file is equals to open and we'll say my underscore file dot txt and this should be in inverted commas, comma, and then we'll say what mode I want. I want it to be opened in read only mode. Now to read this, how do you read? So we'll say content is equals to file dot read and print the contents. Now once we are done reading the file, I want to close the file as well, right? So we'll say file.close. So it's printing the same text that we wrote there, right? So here is my first line, line 1, line 2, and so on. We go on and on, right? All right. So this is on how you read it all together at once. All right. Now there is another way. We call it read line. So we'll say read line, which works in a similar fashion. So I'll say file is open my file in read mode. So this is read mode, and the next one what I want, I'll say line is equals to file dot read line. We'll say file dot close. Fine. Now you see it. The first one read everything and it printed here. I printed those, right? Now here also we'll do similar thing. We after reading the line, I'm going to print it, right? So print my line. Now if I run this, what do I get? I'll just get the first line here, right? Because I'm just reading one line. So how do you read everything? No? How do you read everything in the file? So to do that, we'll use the same example, and we need a while loop here. Okay. So what we are going to say, until you find a line in my text, right? So line is file.readline, and I'll say print line, and I'll say while line is true, or you are finding a line, you are going to hold on. This one should be inside my while. You are going to print my lines, and what you are going to do, you are going to again check for the next line. All right, and then you are going to close the file. What I'm doing here is I'm opening my file, I'm reading the first line, and I'm printing the first line inside my while loop, where my while is checking if line has some contents in it, right? So until or unless we come to the end of the file, this loop will continue and it will keep on printing line by line. Okay. Let's run this. You see, so line 1, but you see there are extra spaces here, right? So to get rid of those, what we need to do, we'll say line dot strip. All right, so it will remove the extra spaces. Now let's run this again. What do I get? I get the same output here. All right, so this is how you read it line by line. Now a slight variation in this concept is read lines. So you say file, open my file in read mode, and you say lines is equals to file dot read lines, and what you want to do, you want to print it, and you'll say file dot close. Now let's run this. This should also give you the same output, but here we are reading line by line at once. This is nothing but it's giving you /n because it's a line break command, right? So /n is for line break. But this approach, this approach is not a very good approach to follow, because all of your text file is loaded in your memory and then you are iterating on line by line. Instead, use the initial one, the earlier one that we discussed. So what we are doing, we are loading line by line. Each line is loaded one at a time and processed, and then the next line is read. So this is a more efficient way to perform the same task. Okay. So the next thing that we want to do here is we have read the file. Now say you want to write something in the file. Writing in a file. How do you do that? So let's say you have a file 1 equals to, or let's keep it file only, file is equals to, I am going to write it in a new file. So let's say my file name is my file 1, my underscore file 1 dot txt. All right, and I want to open this in which mode? This time I want to open it in write mode. Okay, and the next thing that I want to write is the next thing I want to do is write in the file. So I'll say file dot write hello world, and we'll give a line break, and we'll add one more line. We'll say file dot write writing files using Python, and we'll give slash in. Okay, all right. And after this, what you want to do, you want to close the file dot close. File dot close. Okay, so I missed a command here. I should write open here, right? Now we'll say file dot close and open close parenthesis. Let's run this. What happens? So it gave me nothing, but a new file is created here, right? If I open this, it says hello world writing file using Python. All right. Now the disadvantage of opening it in or writing it in this way is, say I have this file and I am again I have created this file. This file is stored here. My file, we checked it, right? Now I am again opening this file and I am changing the content to hello world. This hello world. This is my new line insert. Okay. The second one is the same. So in this case, what happens? If I run this, I ran, it finished, gave me nothing. Let's see what my new file is. So my initial content is overwritten. I had hello world and writing file using Python, right? But this time, whatever I provided there has overwritten. So how do you achieve a scenario where you don't want to delete the initial ones? You want to retain the initial ones. At the same time, you want to insert it, right? So we call it append operation, right? So we'll say appending in files. So in this way, we are going to open my file, and for append, you are going to give the mode as A, which is for append. And you are going to say file dot write. This is my line that is being appended. All right. And after this, you want to close the file. Okay. Let's see what happens here. Now I'm just appending one single line to the file. If I run this, finished, you see this line is the line that I'm sorry, this is my line that is being appended, right? So this is the line that we were expecting here. So there are three operations. One is read, one is write. The last one we saw was append operation. There is one more cleaner approach to how you can read a file, right? So cleaner approach to read a file. What we are going to do here is we don't have to worry about closing the files. All right. So how do we achieve it? So we'll say with operation. We'll use with operation. So we'll say with open, and we'll say file. What is that? My file. My underscore file 1.txt. My file.txt, and I'm going to open it in read only mode, and we'll say open this as file. Okay. Now if you want to check the content is equals to file.read. Okay, and we'll say print content, and you don't have to close the file. So if you use the with approach, the file is automatically closed towards the end after it's done reading. Okay, let's run this, whether it's running or not. So you see, okay, so I ran this again, so it appended it again in the file, but you see this printed Let's run this alone. Okay, so this printed whatever is there in my file. If you check my file, it's the same thing that we are getting in our output. Clear? Okay. So the next one that we are going to see is how to handle binary files or open a file in a binary format, right? So say you have something, you have somewhere where you want to compare two images if they are identical or not, right? So you're going to read the file, compare the file content, and then you will say whether the file is similar or not. We'll see this example when we are on the framework level, but how do you achieve it, or how do you open a file in binary mode, right? We'll see that first. Let's take image file first. So I'll go to my pictures. Let's pick this up. I'll copy and paste it in the same place where we were working on. I've pasted it here. So it says test.jpg. Now let's see both the ways. What happens if you open it using this approach? We have what we had seen for text file. Let's see, opening an image file. We'll say file is equals to open, and we'll set the name. What was it? It was test.jpg, right? And we'll open it in read-only mode. We'll try to print everything. Whatever we are getting, we'll try to print it. So how do we print everything? Content is equals to file.read and print the content and close my file. Okay, let's run this. What do I get? I'm sorry, test.jpg. My bad. Test.jpg. Let's run this. Right? So this one is throwing you an error. Right? It's not able to decode some of the characters. Right? So to open this, you are going to open it in a binary format. Right? You are going to use B here, and since you are going to open it in a read-only mode, so you will say read-only mode, and then let's see if we are able to get the content or not. All right, let's run this. So it's giving you in the binary format whatever it is getting from that JPEG file. So say you want to compare two JPEG, so you can use this binary as well. All right, you can open the JPEG in binary, check the content whether both the JPEG's content match or not. We'll take this up later on the framework level when we are comparing multiple files, right? Say PDF or other, though there are libraries which can compare PDF directly, but we'll try to do it on a ground level rather than using someone else's library. We'll try to see how we can implement using our own code. So now what happens if we are opening a file which is not existing, right? There can be a scenario you are expecting a file but the file is not present, right? So it should throw you an error. So let's say opening a non-existent file. I will say file is equals to open. We'll say file.txt because this file is not existing. File.txt. We are going to open it in a read-only mode, right? So we'll say read, and we'll say file.close. That's it. I don't want to, or let's say file.read, yeah, and file.close. Let's say I don't want this. I just want to check whether it's throwing me an error or not and how to handle it. So let's run this. So it says no such file or a directory, file.txt. All right. So how do you handle it? Though this error handling and exception handling is our next video, I'm just giving you a early preview of how this works. Okay. So to handle this, I'm going to comment this one here and I'm going to change my approach. We'll use something called as try and except. So we'll put the file. So we'll say try and we'll say file is equals to open my test. Yes, and one more concept. Even if you don't specify anything here, right? If you don't specify read write mode, the default is read only mode. Okay. All right. Then what you are going to do, if you say you find except, what except is the same exception that it threw, file not found error. So if you are encountering this error, right, so you don't throw me an error message, just print me a message saying file was not found. Okay, let's say file was not found. What happens if we run this? So instead of the technical error message, you will get a custom message that you have written here. All right. So we'll see this in the next lecture because I'm going to talk more on the exceptions in the next one. All right. One last concept and we'll close for today is reading a config file. Reading a config or an .ini file. All right. So what are .ini files? So they are more or less like config file where, say, on a framework level, you will have to give somewhere, you will have to write the credentials, what my test script is going to use, what credentials it is going to use and log into the database, or what are the connection string, what is the application URL. So you're going to write all of those in a certain file, in a certain format, and it would be provided to your script. So how do you read it? So you can obviously go and read it how we wrote uh, the earlier files using the file approach. But there is a different approach that we can follow. But before that, let's create a ini file. All right. So I'm going here, new. I'll say text file and I rename it to config.ini. Creating config.ini. Now what I want to do is I want to add some data here. All right. So we'll say my database. This is a format of a ini file. We'll say database is my header. Inside this, I have host, let's say localhost, port, let's say 8080, username is equals to root, password is equals to admin. All right. And in a second category, we'll have another set of data. We'll say this is application related app, and we'll say theme is equals to dark, read only is equals to false. All right. So this is my basic config file with some elements added here. All right. Let's close this and we'll go back to our script. You see, we have our, where is that? Config.ini placed here as well, right? You see, there's a different kind of logo assigned to it because it's a config file. So let's see how we can read this. So to read this, you need to have a library being imported here. So the library to import a library, we'll write import, and we'll say config parser. All right. We'll say config parser. Now my next line is config is equals to config parser dot config parser, right? So what we are doing, we are creating a parser here. What is a parser? A parser is nothing but it reads a certain file in a certain format. Okay. So it will read the ini file and it will extract the text out of it in a certain format that is more structured. My next line would be config.read config.ini. All right. Now, how do you access the values? Now, accessing is, say, I want to get my database and my host, right? Let's open this. What is my database? So this is my database. I want the host from it, right? How do you get it? So you'll go here, you'll say host is equals to config and what values you want. In a square bracket, you are going to write database and you'll say get me the value of host inside database. All right. Similarly, how do you get the port? So you can also write, say, so this is a string value. So I just gave config. So since port is, I'm expecting port to be an integer number. So I can write config.getInt. Okay. So we'll say port is equals to config dot get int. We'll say database and port. So if you closely observe, there are two different ways how we are handling it. One was in the square bracket, other one is the round brackets. All right. So this was just config, and you were pointing it to the tree structure, whereas here also you are doing the same. I want to get this value, right? So I am expecting a Boolean value here, right? So while you import, you can also import a Boolean value directly, like we imported the int. So we'll say what editable config dot get Boolean. What do you want here? You want app, and inside app you want, what is it? Read only, right? Right, read only. All right. Now let's try to print this. We'll say print the host is host. Okay. Print. I wrote it as post. It should be port. And this is also port. I'll say the port is port, and the editable value is, and this value. All right. Let's run this. No such option port in section database. What is it then? This is also post. We'll have to give as port. Rest all is same. Let's run it again. So it says the host is localhost, the port is 8080, the editable value is false. All right. So this is another way how you can access your config.ini. So using the config parser, you can also read it as a text file. There's no hard and fast rule that you have to do it in this way, but this is a more cleaner approach. All right. So that's all I wanted to talk on file handling. If you want any more details around it, or if you are stuck somewhere, if you want some more topics to be included in this file handling, do drop me a note in the comment, or I have added my other channel details as well, or the other social handle details. You can reach out to me in any of those. All right. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one where we talk about exception handling.